Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Big Mike here.
And Jason over here.
Yep. Hey guys, I'm going to tell you something. Jason's at a remote area. He ain't at home no more. Tell him where you're at.
Well, see, what happened was the wind blew, the rains came in, and somehow we ended up back in Tennessee, y'all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. They're back there.
Pops' house is right there. You
Now
can't.
this the maiden voyage of the Sasquatch?
It's the longest. So technically, the maiden voyage to the Squatch, which is our new home, little bit of an upgrade. By little, I mean a whole lot to the Nugget. Our maiden voyage was actually over to Tilted K Homestead.
Oh, that's right.
And we spent about a week and a half over there and worked out some kinks, figured out what was going to not work because that was our precursor to this trip of coming to Tennessee. Because, well, we knew we were going to be here for an indeterminate amount of time.
Right.
And we needed to make it through winter. So
how did it ride?
It rode great.
Really?
It did. I was a little concerned with a few of the improvements we made as to did I make it overweight or not. And no, honestly, my truck I need to make some improvements to. But the Squatch rode like a dream. Tracked.
Toughening up the suspension in the rear, or?
Yeah, so my last truck I had, I'd put airbags in the rear so that you don't get that squat when you put a heavy load on. And what it does is brings your tires up in the front, makes it real squirrely. And I couldn't transfer them to the old truck to the new truck.
Wow.
2 different years, 2 different style trucks. Just wasn't going to work. So with this one, I'm like, hey, it's a newer truck. And it handled it fine. Makes my driving part way more proactive.
Right.
Because it's got a lot more squats. So my plan is to buy an airbag lift kit for the rear end so I can adjust the rear end up and down as I want for hardness, softness. And the truck will ride level, the camper will ride level. We're going to go like a dream. But
good.
I stopped at a couple different places, obviously on the way, and I would look, and it's all in the truck right now. The camper is riding level and true. Our son sent me some tire pressure sensors for the camper because he's like, you guys have been having some issues with trailer tires lately. Like, let me help you out. So I got those put on. They worked flawless. The camper, air temperature wise on the tires, maintaining perfect all the way across. So it's on the truck now. Just got to make some improvements there.
Okay. So guys, we're going to be talking about the President-elect Trump's new nominee for the VA secretary. And for us on this channel, that's probably one of the most important nominations that concerns our life. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared with the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. That's Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, because if you really look at it, the Veterans Health Care Act was put in place in 96. It was passed in 96? And it only went through 98. So they're living off of basically unapproved bill ever since to supply.
Isn't it amazing? Like, I remember specifically the whole time I was in, it was all
No,
about
wait, I'm sorry. 2016 to 2019. That's what it was, I believe.
yeah, and they can get away with those types of things because they're the ones writing the rules.
Yeah.
I remember being, active duty, and I unfortunately, as much as I wanted to just be a mechanic, give me a wrench, I'm gonna turn it, we're gonna be great. No, that never really happened.
Yeah.
Um, so you start getting into the procedures and policies of things, which is what I had to deal with on a daily basis. And they're all about, hey, you need to do the latest, greatest, and the most up to date, and keep everything up to date. And, don't let this order expire before you write another one. But then when we get to our upper level of the government that's telling us what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it, they're running on 10, 15-year-old data.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But we weren't at the user level allowed to run off 5-year-old data.
And then I found out today that the VA got caught. They got caught because they a while back they said, "Hey, we're not going to make it. Veterans aren't going to get paid. We need an additional $5 billion or $3 billion." Terry keeps correcting me. $3 billion to make it to the end of the year. When in fact, when they made it to the end of the year, they had $5 billion left over. So
Well,
Congress is pissed. Hey, you guys came to us and you said veterans aren't going to get cared for, they're not going to get paid, and so we did the joint thing in Congress and we got it passed for you, and you guys can't even keep track of your money, and you have a whole financial division within the VA, and y'all can't even count. So they asked for 3, they ended up with 5. Come 1 October, when all the books are closed, there's $5 billion sitting there that they asked to roll over into the next year to add to whatever already, what was it, $180 billion a year that the VA runs off of. I'm like going, if I did that when I worked for the government, I'd be fired.
yeah.
I'd be fired over $100,000 that I couldn't keep track of. You know what I mean? But my
Well,
job
and
was I had to
they
make
always
money in order to pay my employees. I didn't get, not all my positions was taxpayer funded. So I'm just like going, $5 billion error. How do you do that?
Well, and I remember during the time I was in was we got emails constantly because that's how you communicate. It's the only way.
Yeah.
You can't talk face to face with nobody. You got to email it. Is the fraud, waste, and abuse.
Oh my
They're
God.
like, hey, and so you get these emails coming in, and they're like, make sure that your Marines or, you know, soldiers, whoever, airmen, they're not taking pens from work home. They're not taking pads of paper home. Like they
Yeah.
were getting like, don't take post-its home. Like if you had post-its at your house, you better have a receipt from Office Max or Home uh, Best Buy or
Yeah.
wherever you buy it, right? Even Walmart. You better have a receipt showing that you bought post-it notes because they were going to come for you if they didn't, because they're like, well, you just took that from work. Fraud, waste, and abuse.
I'm gonna tell you something. I will guarantee you that there's hundreds and thousands of children out there that go to school every year, and a lot of their school supplies came from the federal government. I'll guarantee you that. Okay. And the other thing I'll guarantee you is that, like, if you remember when we had that toilet paper shortage during
Oh, God.
COVID and all that stuff. I'm going to tell you something. I had to lock up the toilet paper from all my facilities. I gathered it up and put it in one storage room, and they had to come sign for it when they needed toilet paper for their building. And I knew each building how many stalls they had that they needed toilet paper, because they were stealing that crap left and right.
Yeah.
I had to lock it up.
And that's like here, Mike at Vision Acres. I stand corrected. The Pentagon failed its 7th audit.
Seventh audit.
Yeah.
And you remember in the military when they come to hit your unit and you had to stand down and correct everything right then and there?
Right.
And it made your unit non-mission capable. And then up at the Pentagon, where, I mean, I don't think they even salute in there no more. There's so many officers. The people that's making policy can't even pass their own audits.
No.
That's insane. Yeah, I read about that yesterday. That's crazy. Hey, before we get too far into this, guys, up at the top, we posted the link. Please join us on the panel if you want to come in and talk about this nomination and anything else you want to talk about. But the main focus is going to be about the nominee, Doug Collins, for the VA secretary. So let's say hello to some people before we get started in this, because we could talk about this all night, just government waste and crap like that.
It's amazing. So
hey, there's Anna Bohr from Good Enough Homestead. She's in here.
I see Judy Herman made it in.
Hey, Judy.
So,
our flipping farmstead, Dawn, my favorite female Marine.
Hoorah, Dawn. Oh, Sergeant Major's in here.
Yep, Terry's in here. Making corrections when I say something wrong.
Keeping us in line, and we need it.
What's that, Ben?
I just posted breaking news at the bottom of the chart.
Okay. She posted breaking news at the bottom.
Okay.
All right. Miss Lila Newton, there's Cookie.
Thank you, dear sister. There's Vision Acres Homestead.
That's Mike over at Vision Acres. He's a Army vet. Let's see. Debbie Dross in here.
Linda Peterson.
How you doing, Linda? There's Joe Fix It For You. Good to see you.
That's what.
Hey, you know what?
We tried to run a campaign. We were going to be Joe for president. We were going to get him in there. A better Joe.
I got to say this every time I see Joe. I seen him at Pinecone Fest. I was about to say Cornhole Fest. Pinecone Fest. And he had all these brand new hats. Did he give one to Big Mike? No.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm not in with that group, man.
You know what?
We aren't either anymore.
I don't know.
I got to make Joe feel bad.
There's my, well, I would say neighbor, but now I'm in Tennessee, but he's still my neighbor. He's holding down the ridge, and if I call him, he's going to be on it. Mr. Ricky Smith.
There he is from Veterans Landing.
All the way from Veterans Landing.
Okay. Let's see.
We got Brother Glenn up here.
There he is. Up jumped the monkey from the Coconut Grove. He was a... Yeah, we can't sing those anymore.
You know, Glenn, you know what? We need to get Glenn to start singing these cadences with the way his voice is. And I know that he remembers because he posts them every time.
Yeah.
He could probably go viral just singing these cadences.
Yeah.
Just saying, Glenn, throw it out there. Do what you want with it, buddy. But just remember who gave you the idea. It was Big Mike. He told you, send it over there to the veterans.
Yep. Hey, there's Merns Pacquiao from the Philippines. She's in here. Boy, it's early over there in the Philippines. They're 13, 14 hours ahead of us.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's definitely. See, Ralph at Webb's Web made it in. Welcome in,
Yeah.
brother. Oh, Mod Father made it in. Jesse and Lisa, lazy days ahead.
All right. Webb's Web. What they call that guy on Happy Days? Ralphie Boy? Ralph Mouth?
Ralph the Mouse.
Ralph, what? I'm trying to look at my backup and she ain't even paying attention. I don't know.
Says Bobby from Betty Jean River Homestead.
Welcome in, Bobby.
There's Ginger Snap.
Well, hello.
She's the proud mommy of some zombie chickens.
Where did they come from?
That's right. They came from Miss Terry's flock.
They did.
Yeah.
Pretty
Well, you should have
stout
seen her. Did you see the video when she hatched those out? She was moving them. She was just she's in love with them little chicks. Now they grow fast though. They grow fast.
Well, and you know, the one thing that of course we give Ginger and Joey a whole lot of crap about is they want to raise the animals so that they can, you know, produce food, do all this stuff, but they're all pets to them. So when it's time to be like, hey, they're consumable now, they're like, no, I can still pet them. We're still good. Like,
Yep.
you've got to be able to delineate that fine line of, all right, be friendly to it. Be a good steward of your animals.
Yeah.
The time to throw it on the barbecue. And they're like, nah, we'll go down and buy the barbecue. We'll pet these ones.
Robin over at Good Enough Homestead. No, she's the first one to notice your finger wasn't wrapped up anymore.
Did she? Oh, it's not, guys. It's still got a little bit of a, there's no stitches, no bandage, no nothing.
Yep. There's Terry Treat. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Mike said, I stand corrected. Failed the 7th audit, not the 5th, in a row.
Amazing how that works.
It's almost like remember the movie Friday? How do you get fired on your day off? Ain't nobody in the Pentagon getting fired. Nobody.
No.
They don't fire people. They may now.
Oh, I think I found the Sergeant Major's comment right here. Breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump is nominating the billionaire professional wrestling mogul Linda McMahon to be the Secretary of Education Department.
And you know why? You want to know why he probably got her? Because they're closing it down. They're going to close at the federal level. He wants to close down the Department of Education and shove it down to the states where it needs to be. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Send them the funding, let them run their schools, how it fits them, their state. And then he's going to make it school choice where he wants to. I don't know how much this he's going to actually do, but yeah. Oh, wow. They're going to do surgery on Monday. And she went to the VA on Monday and they really want to do surgery on her back. Well, guess what, Lila? I went to the doctor on Friday, and this coming Monday, I'm having my second hip surgery on my left side. So they're going to replace my left side on Monday. I have to go in for surgery. So,
And that first tip is working great. I witnessed it when he
yeah,
was out there catching all the trout. We were putting waders on, going out to the middle of the creek or the river, trying to be all fancy. Big Mike's out there like, I'm just cleaning up. Why
I'm
are you
just
guys
catching
even trying to
fish.
get wet? We're just out here getting it.
Yep. How about what is this? How about Fort Bragg where they have the pond? They drop bullets and machine guns into the pond. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of that. I mean, I've been to Fort Bragg quite a few times, but not training wise.
Dehydrated TP. Yeah, I'm telling you something. They steal.
Oh, cookies on it. Has Trump picked anyone over 45?
Oh yeah, Doug Collins is over 45.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Yeah.
But there's kind of the key, as we're still going through everybody, was the fact that trying to get new, younger blood, not too young to where they're getting crazy and woke, right? But getting that young enough blood where they still have some common sense to be able to come in and make decisions that aren't based on the wackoness we've dealt with for the last 4 years.
Well, and I did hear a statement by um, a guy. He's an economist, and he said, "Just because you're old doesn't make you smart."
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that. Okay. And you got to understand something. If you served in the military, you know this to be true. Just because you're in charge doesn't mean you know everything. That's why you like you learn in business school, a leader has to surround themselves with people that are smart. You got to surround yourself with smart people. Number one. Okay? Let them be in charge of their little world underneath you. They come and they make you smart. So don't get confused. You just got to be the type of leader that makes those people do their damn job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you hold people, you hold their feet to the fire and you fire them when they need to be fired, and they don't just stay there to be staying there year after year so they can retire. You got to surround yourself with smart people, and just you have to make sure they do their job. And then it's going to get done. And you hold their feet to the fire.
Well, and I think a lot of that is that accountability. You know, you hold their feet to the fire. That's accountability. Be accountable in your own actions and the actions of those people that you're in charge of.
Yeah.
You know, what did they tell us all the you've got to expect what you inspect. If you're not looking at it and you're expecting something totally different than what you got as a result and you never looked at it, that's your own fault. Like if you want a good product, then you need to be there inspecting that product from start to finish, and then you can have an expectation of what's going to come out as the end result. But if you're not there during any of that process,
Yeah.
then you don't have a justified expectation.
Yeah. Linda McMahon becomes the head of DOE. Will she legalize smackdowns for disrupting children?
You
Good one,
know,
Mike.
I wouldn't argue with it at all.
And Robin's telling Tara to wake up.
I'm here.
um,
Yeah, she was very excited with those chicks.
what did I say? Okay, so Joey says, Mike, you got a hat at the campfire night.
No. I wasn't there for campfire night. We left early to go to the hotel. Hey, Galactic Warrior. Yep, they're going to shut it down. Because it doesn't make sense. Do you realize the Department of Education at the federal level, how many people work there, and our kids are the dumbest in the world?
Yeah.
As a whole, not individuals. There's truly some smart kids out there.
But the overall testing, like you said,
Yeah.
the overall testing, when you go to a standard, like I did, and it kind of relates to Tara and I've had the conversations over the last several years of nursing. Nursing is based by the state. Certain
Right.
states, if you go to nursing school in, say, Ohio, well, you're going to be able to do more in Ohio as a nurse that went to school in Indiana. And then if you go to Michigan, like every state has its own standard. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why isn't it the same? Like, nursing should be nursing. Doctors, if a doctor got a license, he gets a doctorate, right? He can go wherever he wants to go as long as he applies for that license, and he
Yeah.
can be a doctor in any state. So
Sure.
why isn't the nursing carrying over? But it doesn't. And so if it's at the level where the nurses are the ones doing more work than the doctors show up to be like, yep, bloop, 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 bloop. All right, I'm done. Time to go back on vacation for 3 months.
Yeah.
The nurses are the ones in there dealing with it day in, day out.
Sure.
Why isn't that standardized?
Yeah.
Standardized. And then I had to go back and think about, like, even when I went through school, I was the middle of 6th grade when I had to change from one town to the next. It's in the same county, but they're two different schools. And in most subjects, I was ahead of the new school, but in a couple subjects, I was actually behind.
Right.
Because every school has their own, so there's no standard. And then when the state comes out and they said, well, we want standardized testing, and that's what your school is going to get based on funding, but not all the schools are teaching the same thing at the same level.
Right. So you got to
So
look
how
at this, your tax dollars. The thousands and thousands of people that work at the federal level for the DOE. Okay? We're going to cut all those guys out. All that money that was paid out in salaries and taking care of the buildings and their janitors and all this stuff that all these people that work there. Not all educators, there's secretaries, there's all copy boys, there's probably all kinds of stuff. So you're eliminating all those thousands and thousands of people that work at that level. Okay. Then you go down to the state. How many hundreds and thousands of people work at the state education level? Then you got the superintendents and all their staff. Then you got the schools. I'm telling you, if they do it right and they push that money, because normally they get paid anyway down to the state pays each school district, and each school district pays the school for how many kids sit in their classroom. If you take that money, maybe teachers can actually make a decent wage in this country and give a shit about what they're teaching. You know what I mean?
Well, very little
Honey.
federal money comes down to the state.
Well, this way it can.
Right, it could.
Okay. Her family were teachers.
Well,
She has an aunt that was a teacher
my
too.
aunt's a teacher. She's a liberal. So.
Hey, there's Cuddly Texan. How you doing, brother?
What's up, brother Patrick?
I'm just saying because I worked for the county and I know where the money came from.
Yeah. Patrick, he's building the future leaders of the party.
Yep.
It's
Department of Education pick. Yeah. And hopefully by appointing folks that under 45, he won't get any
Warminger. That words are hard, but that one's even harder.
that must be
How
a
do you
Mississippi
even
word. I don't know what it is.
Warmonger?
Oh, is that warmongering?
Warmongering.
I didn't
Okay.
even, again, I didn't use that word in college, so I don't know.
I didn't even go to college, and that word was not in any crayon box. So
Warmongering.
that
It's
makes
just not
sense.
a word you use every day, so it caught me
No.
off guard. I said warm on
Yeah.
green. What?
I was trying to
I was
sound
trying
it
to
out.
sound it out like a fifth grader. You know what I mean? Because I ain't smarter than the fifth grader. I'll tell you that.
Put on phonics. I didn't even enroll.
There you go.
And I gotta
A
go.
PET. What's a PET scan?
The PET scan. What is that, babe?
That's a radioactive scan.
Yeah, like an MRI, like a radioactive scan.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Hey, Robert Clayton.
Welcome in, Robert.
If it's run solely at the state level, students in the state like Oklahoma will fall behind because servants in the becoming a
Technology-driven society.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Like when we lived in Colorado and they passed the recreational marijuana, and at the state level, it all goes to the state tax goes to for education, right?
Mm.
There ain't a kid in that state that don't go home every night with a laptop.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no old schools anymore in the state of Colorado because they built new ones with pot money. People don't realize, they're not going to stop it. So why not join them and use that money for good instead of evil? I get it, but in Colorado, it's working.
No, and I think that's the big argument when a lot of people approach the states that haven't approved it for recreation was look at the amount of income, even if it's just via taxes, that can go back to the state. Because when, you get Colorado and I remember like I was in Michigan and they got legalized. And then all of a sudden, all the states around them, they started coming to Michigan and it created a huge income base for the state that it could put back into the education system.
Yeah.
And
The
when they realized,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when they realized the amount of income that it can create towards a good effort, like, hey, we're going to put all this, it was kind of like, I remember in Michigan where they were talking about the casinos. And I was just talking to somebody the other day about this, was bringing in casinos. And they're like, well, if they're just in there for profit, well, they put one in 7 miles from my house that I was living in.
Yeah.
And it created so many jobs for the economy, the local community, because it wasn't just tribal employees. They were hiring anybody that was qualified to be able to come in and work at it. But then they started putting money hand over fist, way more than the state or even federal would ever put in, to all the school systems in the county. To where you could go at 4th of July and pick your spot where you wanted to go. The casino paid for it, and you watched an amazing fireworks display.
Sure.
It was all money from there. And it's the same thing with the whole legalized marijuana. Like, they can take that same amount of money and put it into the local economy, as long as the federal government isn't wrapped up to be able to take their I didn't do any work but give me money. We might as well be British again.
Right. Wanted to say hello to Sherry Udall.
I share you, Dale.
And see, this is what my whole point was to be. If you shut down the federal level and send that money down to the states, what you were going to pay for the federal level, that would help them out. Now, I will tell you, in Colorado, the first year they legalized recreational marijuana, the state sales tax that they sent to the schools was $608 million in the first year. And that was just the state tax that they earned. Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. If we were smart, Terry and I, we would have opened up a Chinese restaurant next to a pot dispensary.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, man. You're going to be a millionaire. You know, you can't pass good smelling food when you're stoned, you know.
Taco truck.
There you go.
We've seen
Or a taco truck. Just put a taco truck out front.
I think that was the latest one that we had seen, actually, was like there was a dispensary and then there was like, I want to say it was like a taco restaurant or something.
Yeah.
Right next door. Like it was like boom, boom. They shared the same parking lot. And I'm like, that marketing key right there that's genius partners. One opened one, the other opened the other. Hey, we're gonna make money both ways.
There you go. There's the evidence right there. All right, where we stand.
Yeah.
So it's not working, and we're totally getting off subject, but that's okay. We'll get to it.
Do we ever really have a plan?
Yeah,
Wait,
we got a plan. We just don't have direction when we get started.
How's David say that? We have a game plan, but not a set plan.
That's right. There you go. The Department of Education at the federal level has 4,400 employees, right? And if you figure that a GS9 is making about $52,000 a year, and then think of how many 10s, 11, 12s, 13s, and 14s work there, okay, and 15s work there, and the 15s are making over $125,000 to $150,000 a year, easy, probably even more, okay. So, and then you got executive staff, so they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm telling you, just pump it down to the states. So, okay, everybody's payroll, what we spend on supplies, what we spend on janitorial service, what we building maintenance, all this stuff that they have in their budget, and you take that money and divide it by 50 states, ship it down there. It ain't gonna hurt.
Yeah. No. See, Patrick's on it. Glenn, quit using big words.
What do you use?
Federally controlled, state controlled, county or municipalities. Oh, Glenn and these big words tonight. Crappy communities are going to raise stupid kids. Kids being successful is going to lie on their parents giving a damn.
Yeah. And that's the first thing. Parents got to give a damn. Okay. Hey.
See, and Nona made it in.
How you doing?
Nona. Oh, there's Lumpy Bert.
Yep. We're going to get to the bottom of this, guys.
No, you're not.
Probably not, huh?
Oh, that.
Hey, there's Devil Dog.
Hoorah, Devil Dog.
Yep. Bobby wishes he had a taco here.
Wait, Bobby, that's not fair. I know roughly where Bobby lives, and he gets better than he's in close proximity to some people that make better than taco truck tacos. So it's his own fault if he's.
Yeah, I remember my grandpa said he went all the way through school, went in the front door and ran out the back. Let's see. Hey, fellow Whisperer Farmstead. Hello, Kristen.
Hello, Kristen. Bella's Whisper Farmstead. I like it.
Lumpy, I wouldn't pass the background check. I'd be on Fox News, CNN, this guy back in such and such.
Well,
No.
my other problem, like
I couldn't put my life in a microscope.
yeah, and that's the hard part, right? Like you've heard about some of the nominees coming out of what he wants to put on, and then they look back so far and put your whole life on a microscope that, oh my gosh, if you chewed a piece of bubble gum the wrong way, you're a sadist.
And here's the thing. The people pointing fingers live in glass houses too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
They're
yeah.
throwing rocks. And I remember there was one guy going for the Supreme Court. I can't remember who it was. And he admitted, hey, when I was in college, I smoked a joint. And they denied him. He didn't get into the Supreme Court. This was years ago. And I'm just like going, wait a minute. There's nobody in government perfect. Because number one, they're, what the thing they say, crooked as a politician, they got their fingers in all that stuff. And as soon as you take your first bribe from these Washington insiders and stuff like that, you're crooked in my mind. But everybody, there's no perfect person out there. Well, he died a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But pointing fingers and stuff like that. These guys that are on the news.
It's
sure
all
they
part
don't
of
have
that
a crystal clean path.
What is that? The distraction mentality.
Yeah.
Glenn's got me all messed up with these big words. I can't even use my own lips right now.
Yeah. Hey, there's Rainy Ridge.
I'm going to say it's Tina because Eric normally comes in on his own and he has to do all that work stuff. So,
yeah. So, okay, guys, let's get started. So, President Trump has nominated Doug Allen Collins to be the Secretary of the VA. He's going to be the VA Secretary. Number one, when you've got a $180 billion budget, that's a lot of responsibility. Number two, how many hospitals, how many clinics, how many people work for the VA, all the VSOs. Now, that's one thing you need to pull a knot out of their butts is those VSOs. These are retired guys, military people. A lot of them are military. A lot of them, they probably have a medical background or something like that. But they're making the decisions on whether you get approved for disability or not. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it didn't read good enough for me, so it's denied. Okay. So that's part of the problem. Okay, because when I look into the code, and because I wanted to know, hey, I had the arthritis in my hips, and I got 10% for it, right? My hips, my knees, my back, all that stuff, my feet. And then it says in there, my hip replacement was secondary to the arthritis because the arthritis caused the problem. So it says in there, If you get a total hip replacement, it is automatically 30% for going in there and sawing off your ball joint and hammering metal into your leg and putting it all back together. It's 30% if you have a total hip replacement. And that's 30% for each side whenever you do it. So I'm like going, okay. So I go and have it done. The VA cuts the order. The doctor replies back to them with all the medical paperwork to the VA saying this is done, pictures, all that kind of stuff. All the x-rays is all done. So then I put in for the disability part of this, right? And when they tell you that if you go in for surgery and you're incapacitated for 21 days or more because you're in rehab and all that other stuff, then you automatically can apply for 100% temporary disability for 4 months. But guys, when I asked the lady that and she sent me the paperwork, there's no place on there where you can put that information. Okay? There's nothing. Okay? So I fill it all out and I'm going, well, you know what? There's no place for that. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. Well, I turned that paperwork in a month ago or more, and they came back and say, hey, we need you to go to this doctor in Podunk, Oklahoma, and to get medically reviewed. So I go in there, and the guy says, yeah, they send a lot of people to me. I said, but are you an orthopedic surgeon? He goes, no, I'm just an MD. I go, really? And so he tells me to drop my drawers, and he measures the scar. And he says that's consistent with a hip replacement. I said, don't you want to take x-rays? He goes, I already got your x-rays. I don't need them. I already got them. I got your doctor's notes. I already got it. I've read all that stuff. I'm just verifying that you had a hip replacement. I said, what? And they're paying this guy to do this. I was in there 10 minutes. And he said, I'll do my write-up and send it in. So I've been calling every week. I call back. Oh, it's in for decision. Next week, it's in for decision. 3 weeks in a row, it's in for decision. What the hell?
The most frustrating part about that was, we've talked a little bit on here about, I went and got my 100% VA disability, and I paid a company to get it.
Right.
And they had their own set of doctors. Like we've talked before, hey, there's certain doctors that the VA recommend, and they're there to prove you wrong. Well, because I went through a hired company, hey, they're in there. It's all about the wording.
Yeah.
How they word it in their documentation. I don't know who's reading the wording. I really don't. I don't know if it's humans or is it like YouTube and it's all AI where they're going to pick up on keywords, and as long as you can put those certain keywords in, and it was basically that's how it was explained, was
right.
Not everything has to be accurate, not everything has to be correct, but if it has those certain keywords and certain places that they can pick up on, then they're going to be like, hey, here it goes. Yet we're looking at things and we're like, you're dealing with human lives.
Yes.
You're going to put that on the responsibility of a computer generated system that is looking for keywords. And if I don't involve those keywords in my symptoms and in my faults, then I'm not going to qualify for anything.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous. Like I went back. There's Randall and Gypsy out there hanging out in Arizona.
Yeah.
Go back here to Lumpy Burke. Took me 32 years to get total disability through the VA.
Yeah.
32 years. And, you know, it would have taken 5 minutes. 5 minutes with the right person that knew to put the right words in the right spot. Ridiculous.
It's asinine.
Yeah.
Absolutely asinine. All right. So Doug Collins, he was born 16 August 1966, is an American lawyer and retired politician who served in the U.S. House of Representatives for Georgia's 9th Congressional District from 2013 to 2021. So he obviously knows the government territory. Okay.
Yeah.
He knows how government works. All right. He's a member of the Republican Party. Really? And he has also served in the Georgia House of Representatives. Also. Let's see. Wrong mouse. He was born in Gainesville, Georgia. Collins graduated from North Hall High School. He attended North Georgia College and State University, where he received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in political science and in criminal law in 1988. He attended the New Orleans Baptist Theological, did I say that right now? Seminary, receiving his Master's of Divinity. And in 1996, Collins also earned his Juris Doctor from Atlanta Johns Marshall Law School, okay, in 2007. So he's not dumb. He's pretty smart. And if you've ever heard him, if you watch YouTube and you've seen Doug Collins in these committees and stuff like that, the guy's pretty dang smart. He's a level-headed guy. I went back and I watched a bunch of them. And the guy's, he's a smart guy. All right. Let's see. Military service. In the late 1980s, Collins served for 2 years in the United States Navy as a Navy chaplain, because chaplains can quit and go as they want to. After the September 11th attacks, Collins joined the United States Air Force Reserve Command, where he is presently from 2011 and is still presently serves as the chaplain, full bird colonel, as a member of the 94th Airlift Wing at Dobbins Air Force Reserve Base in Marietta, Georgia. Collins was deployed to Balad Air Base for 5 months in 2008 during the Iraq War. Okay, so I'm going to tell you.
So there's some big keys, you know, as we're reading through his profile.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, guys, you know, Google is your friend, right? Find out about the people that are coming into you. It's a Georgia boy. You've got a Southern, born and raised, never really left Georgia other than 5 months into, you know, in 2008 during the Iraq War.
And going to Washington. Yeah.
You know, and going up to Washington. But this is a Georgia boy, a Southern, which a lot of us realize is he was a chaplain. So where does this bring things, right? Where society has been so diverse right now, we're not allowed to bring God into a conversation because people are going to get offended. I'm sorry about your feelings, but that's your problem.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's a chaplain and he's went to these monastery schools and achieved multiple levels and still can be in Congress and be part of, did he make it in the Senate? I'm trying to remember exactly.
No, he's never been in the Senate.
No, I think he was in the running for the Senate, but he can be political. He's involved in politics, but his core is within God and what our country needs.
Right.
Like
we need a lot more Jesus in our country.
Yeah. and he's still succeeding. Where you see a lot of times they get knocked down because they're like, oh no, you're too religious. You're not allowed to be in this spot, or you're not enough religious. Like, it didn't depend on, like, he's still been able to maintain his faith, yet bring sound judgment. And I think that's the exciting thing with him getting nominated is, in my personal opinion, guys, take it for what you want, but I think the country went wrong when they started removing God from everything.
Yeah.
You can't have it in the schools anymore. There's at a point where it's not even like God's not allowed in churches because they want to believe their own different thing. And it's like, no, we have one point purpose in
It's
life.
like during COVID, you could go and protest with hundreds of thousands of people, but you can't have a church service out on the lawn,
right,
or in a park or anything like that. And people got arrested for it. So that just tells you how evil.
But it's letting you know where his core is. And I think that's important for most of us, of, however you voted in the last election, in any decisions that you make in the future, where is that person's core? What are they doing? Are their intentions good, or are they evil? And do they align with what my thoughts and principles are? And this is a guy that stayed true to his faith, stayed true to his principles, and doesn't seem that he's going to waver at all.
No.
And, and I'm sure I've said it on here before, but if not, I'll say it here tonight. The easiest part about being human, no matter what your religion or faith or belief or branch of service you were in, just be a good human being.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. Like, be a good human being.
Yeah. Somebody told me one time, the only race that matters is the human race. And
right.
That's it. Hey, and we want to say hello to Big Wave, Florida.
Welcome in, Big Wave. Good to see you in, brother.
You got an amen from Sherry.
Thank you.
Webb's is about 30 miles from Dobbins Air Force Base. Look at all these amens for Jason. Oh, really?
Michigan City area school in Indiana just allowed us to see. Yeah. Well, what I know of that area, and I know Robin's not too far from there, that doesn't surprise me. You're gonna get, so the opposition to most of this stuff that we're talking about tonight is gonna be in your major metropolises and the inner cities, and I don't know why or how, but that's how it is.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you remember, President-elect Trump stated in one of his talks, and it was about there's some videos on the internet on YouTube that he takes, like, he'll say public schools, and he'll tell you what he'll say, okay, my 10 item plan for education, and he goes down it, boom, 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 boom. Like, first one, get rid of the Department of Education, and he keeps going down that list on what his steps are to improve education. Then he goes over there and he says energy, my 10-step plan for energy, border security, boom, boom, boom. They're on the internet, and because I was watching a channel that does reviews. Who are those 5 dudes? And they were showing these one after another. And I'm telling you something, he's got his eye on the prize on all these things. You know what I mean? And if you take the time to find those and listen to his 10-step plans, some of them are 5-step, 8-step, or whatever, but he breaks it down on everything he wants to do and how he wants to get to the stated endpoint. So they're really interesting.
Yeah. And kind of scrolling through here, I want to bring up something.
Oh, look at that. I got an amen. All right.
Of course you did. We're brothers in this. Our amens are jointly.
And that's something Trump said right there. We need to bring back "In God We Trust."
Yeah.
That's what Trump said in one of his speeches.
One of the big things with Collins that kind of drew my was the healthcare, right? He's looking at VA, going to be the VA secretary. So he opposes the Affordable Care Act,
Yeah.
also known as the Obamacare. He called it an experiment that has continued to fail America and costly for my neighbors. Collins said the passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts of 2017 would not result in anyone losing health coverage.
Right.
And I think ultimately for us bringing this out there was because of the Affordable Care Act, a lot of people lost health care through their employment, whether they got hours cut, anything. And then all of a sudden it became a taxable thing where why do I need to file on my taxes, whether I have health insurance or not?
Yeah.
How or when did that become a thing? Like, if it's not government provided health care, if you're not telling me that because I pay taxes, I'm going to automatically get health care, then why do I need to click an option when I file my taxes at the end of the year, whether I had health care or not?
Yeah. They're not going to put me on health care.
No, they're not.
Well, you got to remember something. You got fined if you didn't have health care.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But the government wasn't providing.
Trump came in and did away with that.
Right.
So Collins, when he was in the Georgia House, he sat on the following committees: House Appropriations. He was the secretary of it. Judicial Non-Civil Committee, Public Safety and Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, and Defense and Veterans Affairs for the state of Georgia. Those are the committees he sat on when he was in the Georgia House. Okay. Now, when we go down, when he was in the U.S. Congress, the committees he sat on: United States House Committee on Rules, United States House Committee on Judiciary, Subcommittee on Courts and Intellectual Property and the Internet, Subcommittee on Regulatory Reform, Commercial and Antitrust Law, Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, Subcommittee on Federal Workforce, U.S. Postal Service and Census, Subcommittee on Economic Growth, Job Creation and Regulatory Affairs. He sat on the caucus membership of the U.S. and Japanese caucus on international affairs also. So he's talked, he's been on a lot of committees. He's heard a lot of stuff. He's seen bad, good, indifferent probably, but he's got a lot of experience. And to me, out of everybody that Trump has selected as nominees, he fits the bill as one of the best picks he could have picked. And he understands how vital Trump does on how vital Veterans Affairs is. Okay. You don't want to get the veteran community against you, number one. Okay? You don't. Because then that rolls into the biker community because you're not taking care of veterans. That goes into all these private groups that support veterans and veterans charities. Okay? And then just people in general that support the military when you're not taking care of your veterans. That's why I don't think Elon and Ramaswamy is going to do away with the VA, period. They may put some horrible, horrible changes in there because of fraud, waste, and abuse, like the $3 billion when they already had $2 billion in reserve. And I just think that, I mean, they got a lot of stuff to do, and I don't think going after the veterans and the VA like that is going to be top on their list. Now, I do believe that they should use more of care in the community care program.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it as much as I can instead of driving all the way up to Muskogee.
It has been a huge improvement, I think, on the VA healthcare system, because that was always the biggest complaint was
Wait time.
even now, you call the VA and you're like, hey, I need an appointment. They're starting at 6 months and then going longer. You're not getting anything inside of 6 months.
Yeah.
Not in any major VA healthcare facility.
Yeah.
So the community care of being able to go out there, and us raising that awareness that community care is available.
Right.
So when we go in, because most veterans that we run into that don't know a lot about the VA are the older veterans that should have been using it from day one, but didn't know it was available to them. They're like, well, I'm not going to go through that because my condition is fatal in 6 months.
Right.
Like, if I don't get something in the next month or two, so to be able to throw it out there, hey, go use community care. And it's opening the eyes to so many more. And I know before the show started, we talked about, while you're active duty. So anybody that's in here that's active duty now, or has family or whatever, they go through TRICARE. And I remember early on in my career, when one of my kids needed some specialty care, I played heck trying to find a doctor that would accept military TRICARE because the payout is so much less than private insurance.
Yeah, because they only get paid actually what it's worth.
Right. And so it made it very restrictive.
Right.
Now, I can pretty much go to any doctor that's out there and be like, hey, will you take TRICARE? And they're like, you know what? That's better than nothing. Absolutely. Well, like the options, because of that community care and the realization that they can't just overcharge, to say that, hey, it's $150,000 for an x-ray because nobody's questioning it. There's nobody at the federal government saying, well, that's overcharging. So they just can kind of run willy-nilly on it. But now that they're realizing that, hey, there's getting tariffs put on things, there's getting restrictions, that you either take this, which might be what you don't think is worth it, but it's still 3 times what it costs you to run it.
Right.
Just take it.
Yeah. Hey, Joseph, welcome into the chat. Like he says, Obamacare isn't working for him. So I'm telling you, insurance is expensive. Good gosh. It takes a chunk out of a family's paycheck.
Oh yeah, and I honestly, it was health insurance. When I did my first enlistment in the Marine Corps, I was hell bent. I was getting out. I was done. Like, what I signed up for and what I had to do were two different objects. we weren't even on the same page, let alone in the same book. Healthcare coverage while I was on active duty was the deciding factor of why I made a career out of it. Having a wife and kids, I couldn't afford healthcare outside of it.
Oh, here it is. It's called the Cartier family. They have a channel on YouTube, and it says Trump's plan. And there's the link to it if you guys want to check it out after we're done.
Right.
Do the channel.
Yeah.
Not the video.
It just takes you to the channel. And you can look at all the videos on there.
Oh.
Drove up your way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why is they have, if you got on Obamacare, and let's say, oh, I only paid $10 for Obamacare and stuff like that. Somebody is paying the rest of it.
Yeah.
And everybody raised their hand. That's who's paying for it. Okay. And you're paying for it in several ways because you just don't get on Obamacare and, oh, I have Obamacare. No, it's just like TRICARE. It's Humana.
Yep.
The government control is TRICARE. Oh, Humana is the one that's running it. A private insurance company is actually running it.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that I witnessed personally with the whole Obamacare thing was family members. Obviously, I was still on active duty, so it didn't affect me any. But when I watched my family members that were reliant on their job to get health care, and then Obamacare come out, and all of a sudden, because you couldn't work more than 28 hours a week and still qualify for it, their hours got cut.
Yeah.
Because then the employer had to provide healthcare insurance anything above like 28 hours. So it created a huge fiasco to where they were trying to make people, and our biggest problem, right, is why create people to be dependent on the government? Well, because the government wants to control you. And how do they do that? Well, if they make you dependent on them by giving you a little bit, you're not going to go above and beyond. You're just going to take that little bit because, well, I could figure out how to make this money work and not go do something else.
Yeah. And there's no way before now, Mexico's like a drug addict. They ain't giving you no money. Okay.
No.
They ain't giving you no money. They'll take your money, but they ain't giving you no money. Now, I will tell you that if people take their factories down to Mexico and he slaps that 200% tariff on them, take that money and divert it and pay for your wall. Okay. But as taxpayers, they're going to pay for it. He's going to do it like before, probably. Hey, what didn't you use this month in the Defense Department? Because you got to break it down on your USR every month, how much your divisions, the Army's going to spend. And if you are under that or whatever, that's how he confiscated the money last time, because he said, it was Homeland Security. So he took money from every department and shoved it down there to have that wall start being built. Same thing's going to happen. Mexico ain't giving us no damn money.
No.
You know what I mean? It ain't going to happen. But if you throw tariffs on all these things, China brings something in here. If all that junk you can buy, it says made in China, and you put a 200% tariff on there, guys, you don't need to buy it anyway. So keep your junk in China and let's start reopening factories and businesses in the States. And how about putting the farmers back to work and buy from our U.S. farmers and stuff like that? Let's start making oil in the United States again. So we're not.
I think that's the, in the
I
conversations
get
that I've
fired up when
had,
they talk about that crap.
yeah, in going into that, and I'll try to make it quick. Is I've had some pretty in-depth conversations lately about that, where they're like, "Well, Trump's tariffs are going to just destroy everything." No, it's not going to destroy it. It's just going to make us require a more quality product made at home by people that are here. Vice, hey, can we go overseas and get it cheaper? Well, sure. That price is going to reflect on there. So now instead of getting that $5 product, it's going to cost you, $15. Well, do you really need it?
Yeah.
Is that $10 difference going to make the decision? And I think that's the wake up call that people need is that extra $10, is that enough to make you wake up and realize you need it or not?
Yeah.
If you don't need it that bad, like, oh, I want it because it's only $5, but if I make it, 15 or $20, well, do you really want it now? Well, no, because now that's more money. The whole, I think as a society that we have in US of that consumerism, it needs to get gripped.
Yeah.
Like we buy things just because, well, it was cheap. It was $5. I bought it. Hey, I've got it. Are you ever going to use it? No. You're going to open the package. You're going to be like, cool, it's here. And guess what? It's going to a landfill.
Yeah.
Like, stop falling into that consumerism lifestyle and pay for what you need, not what you want.
There's Glenda.
There's Glenda. I thought we were being ultimately like we were going to be in the presence of royalty. And then Glenda says, it's me. So now we're really in royalty. So we better mind our P's and Q's.
Wait. Said they will be deporting U.S. citizens once Trump deports illegals. So I doubt they will build the wall. What U.S. citizens are they deporting?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
I think what they said, Holman said was, because someone asked him, the new border czar, they said, are you going to deport families? He said, no. Well, if you take one, he said, if the family elects to go with them, we'll ship them all in one fine package down there. And they're saying because the babies were born in the States, they're U.S. citizen. Okay. Well, if you came into the States illegally, you've already broken the law. Okay. When you go to prison, let's say you're a single parent and you go to prison, who's taking care of your kid? Okay. You broke the law. You're going back. You may not be going into jail, but you're going back to where you came from. Yeah, you had a kid there. What do we do with kids whose parents go to prison? Okay.
Well, and
I'm sorry, but that's the bottom line. And if you want to take your kid with them, you can take your kid with you. Make sure you take all his documents, birth certificates, and all that stuff. So when he gets older, he can make a decision whether he wants to come back because he's a U.S. citizen. And now whether Mexico lets you stay in their country because you're a U.S. citizen, because other countries have laws and they enforce those laws. Come on, you go to Korea, you can only stay there 90 days. If you're there longer than that and they find you, dude, you're gone.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there was some from what I've read online and been watching some stuff, was he had mentioned that 2 years, if you didn't have, like, he was going to go back, like, so some of the illegals that crossed got legal documentation one way or another. If it's not been valid within the last 2 years, he's going to start questioning, all right, if you've got it in the last 2 years, is it a valid process you went through? Because some of them came in and they got documentation and boom, they were, based on the
Yeah.
state or area they were in, they were made legal. Well, if they didn't come in legally in the last 2 years, when all this max importation of our country has happened, they're going to start. And I think that that's what threw a lot of blow up, because people are like, well, they're going to deport US citizens. No, like if you didn't legally come in the last 2 years and you have documentation to prove it, then you're not a legal US citizen. So you're not deporting legals. You're sending out the ones that weren't supposed to be here to begin
Yeah.
with.
All I know is they better start with all these gang members that's taken over these apartment complexes and all this kind of stuff, or if they're in jail, I mean, those guys got to go.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're in the States illegally and you're working and you're trying to provide for your family, I don't think it should be just cut and dry, boom, this isn't Russia. Okay, I get that. But the problem is when you're working under the table, I mean, all those companies that are hiring illegals to work and there's no taxes being paid, those guys, they need to seek those guys out. Okay.
Yeah.
But I get it. They're here. If they're here and they're trying to support their family, I got all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is you came over illegally, you got to go. And a lot of people don't believe that, and that's fine. That's what makes America great. Not everybody agrees with everybody. It keeps everybody in check. But don't sit there and scream and stuff that, hey, my city's paying billions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. Now when you're moving them out of the country, oh, wait a minute, now I want to be the humanitarian.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I mean, I almost got stuck in Turkey. I was on military orders, didn't have a passport, nothing. I flew from Afghanistan back to the US, buried my father-in-law at the time, and was coming back. And because the signature on my military orders was a photocopy, because when I started the whole process, I'm in the middle of Afghanistan. They almost didn't, like, I sat for almost 2 hours in customs in Turkey. They weren't going to let me out of the airport.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an original signature. Like, people are in an uproar about, well, the US can't put all these policies. The US is the most lenient on policies of how to come into the country, legal or illegal. If you go to another one, you're just going to go to their jail or prison and sit there. My only saving grace in the whole expedition was the fact that I was a U.S. Marine on U.S. government orders, and I kept shoving the papers. And it wasn't until I started demanding they send me somebody from the embassy. I'm like, look, I'm not answering any more of your questions. I'm not doing, like, just give me the U.S. ambassador from the embassy. Well, did it, and they would come up with all kinds of stuff. I said, nope, I'm only talking, give me somebody from the embassy. Give me, and then finally I was able to get on the plane and get back to Afghanistan. But it was crazy because I didn't have a passport. Well, I'm not going to Afghanistan on vacation. I was here on orders. It's how I went in. It's how I came out. It's how I'm going back in.
Right.
But there's so many people that don't understand. You could have it a lot worse.
We want to say hello to Cy Benoit. Welcome in.
Hello.
And you're right. Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days. See, we should have not traded the communist nations. Yeah. Shouldn't trade with them at all. But where do you think we borrow our money from?
Well, that's a whole nother avenue.
I know. Food for thought, guys.
Yeah.
Of course you miss watching us. We miss having you up on panel.
Right? And it's been right at the top this whole live.
I
All you
can't
have to
get
do is-
Linda to come up. I can't get Bella. I can't get Lila to come up. I can't get Robin to come up. I can't
No,
get Mike to come up.
Dawn's on there. She's on here every week. She won't
Dawn
come
won't
up.
come up.
No.
We put the link up there. We want you to come in here. Now, isn't that President of Mexico, that lady?
Yeah.
They will deport Americans if Trump deports illegals. Good. Ship them back up here.
Right. Yeah.
That ain't a threat. That ain't a threat.
They're not going to deport them because
I
they're
will
making
guarantee you
more
there's
money
less
off the
Americans down in Mexico than we have Mexicans. And it's not really, the problem's not Mexicans coming up here. It's everybody else from every South American country. What did they say? 67 different countries people have come across the border.
Yeah.
And the Chinese are coming across with Samsonite luggage.
It's not the Mexicans coming up from Mexico. It's the illegals that can funnel through Mexico. Like they're the transport location, obviously by landmass.
The Mexicans already came up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, they're already here. All right, all 12 million of those are already here. We're talking about the new 12 million from around the world that's in here.
That didn't help them in the last election.
Listen to this. Until something blows up, that's the only time Americans really wake up together. Take 9/11. We never came together so fast. But then again, once the ass whooping was over, everybody went back to their old way of thinking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you can just say that when you say we're going to.
So look at the time gap. So September 11th happened, right? America rose up and said, oh, no, we're not going to do this. We're not. When was the last time that happened?
World War II.
Exactly. All the things that happened in between World War II and September 11th of 2001, right? All those conflicts and everything that all of our brethren and sisters that have served, all the conflicts that we went around the world, nobody pulled up. And the biggest one that comes to mind is Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it's a very controversial subject, right? But everybody pulled up in World War II. Hey, we're going to stop. We're not making cars. We're not doing this. We're going to support the military. America first. And then everything else happened. And then all of a sudden they want to do it again in 2001. Seems like a huge gap of when you want to pick and choose to be a patriot.
See, here's the thing. Terry just made a point right there. The guy whose the borders are now was in charge when Obama was in. And under Obama, this guy deported 3 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody on the left bitched or complained. Nobody on the right bitched and complained because it was under Obama. Now that there's a red R in the White House, or will be, now we want to bitch and complain, but nobody. And this guy right here got the Medal of Freedom from Obama. Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, for kicking out 3 million illegals. Nobody on the left, not CNN, not MSNBC, nobody bitched or complained. Okay, nobody bitched and complained when they had the cages on the border under them. But as soon as it flips over, all right, enough said about that.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, I don't care. Most Americans are middle of the road. Most Americans, they're either middle of the road left or middle of the road right. And most Americans can agree on a lot of things. It's the people that are pushing towards the middle of the left and the middle of the right to the far sides that's where the problem is. Because most Americans can agree or say, hey, you're right. Okay, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. And you can live with it. But when you've got that side, the news agencies they just do it. I think they only do it for ratings. That's it.
Oh, 100%.
There is no news channel or anything like that. CNN, all those channels that are left leaning that have the ratings that one channel has.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
they have
their media, their
Yeah.
social media, their media, they need to do, as a business entrepreneur, they need to do what's going to get them the most success.
Exactly.
And what they want to focus on is the extremists. And I agree with you. A vast majority of America they're down the middle. They're just like, look, if it doesn't cost me more to get my kids to school, if it doesn't cost me more to feed my kids, like they're just worried about the immediate problems that's going on right now. Can I feed my kids? Can I keep them, electric? Can I keep them in a house? Can I do those types of things to be able to live daily? But the media is going to focus on the extremists. They're going to go to the one that's
Sure.
like straight left or straight right, and it gets them the ratings. I don't watch news. I don't care what's going on in it. Like, let the world do what its thing. I'm gonna look 50 feet in front of me, see what's going on, worry about me and the next 50 feet, and that's what I'm gonna worry about.
Right.
I need to keep an awareness though of all the other stuff that's going on. But you can't just pick a side. You've got to listen to a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then decipher, well, what's really going on.
Yeah.
Because they're only going this way. They're only going this way. The real truth's here in the middle somewheres. And then you've got to gain your own opinion and hypothesis of, well, what's really going to happen.
Right.
And create your own plan beyond that.
Hey, Mikey Kim, welcome in.
Hey, Mikey. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Left the U.S. 2 weeks after 9/11. When came back to the U.S. in 2005, didn't recognize. Yeah, it's.
And Terry will tell you, we lived in Korea for 5 years. And North Korea is just 18 miles away from our house, right? Where we lived the first time for the first 2 years or so. And I never felt so safe in my life as living in Korea.
Mm.
If you're an American and you go to a bar and you have a fist fight with a Korean national, number one, you're going to jail. Number two, you can pretty much guess after you go to court the next day, you're deported from that country. You do not assault a Korean national in their country. They take care of their people.
Yeah.
You're deported. You know? And if you want to go there and you want to open a business, you have to present a 5-year plan to the Korean government, the business side of the Korean government, to prove that you can, number one, pay for your own way of living, and you've got a 5-year plan and it's funded in order for you to move into that country as a business. Because if you don't do that, number one, you're taking jobs away from Koreans, and they ain't having none of that. You know what I mean?
Right. No, and that's not the only time I've even heard that. Was
other countries, people are so blinded. I've been to 37 countries, and I'm going to tell you something. People say, "Oh, in other countries." No, not in other countries. In other countries, they take care of their people first.
Yeah.
I don't care where you go, they take care of their people first. If you came over there, if Italy was next to Mexico, there would be some starving people and they would be cuffed and stuff. They don't put up with your crap. And people think, oh, yeah, we're so oppressed. Guys, we're so less oppressive than any country I know of.
Could you imagine? Because when we were in Italy, right, the police were walking around on the streets with freaking
machine guns.
Yeah, walking around, flak vests, machine guns. Could you imagine if the cops did that here?
Yeah.
People freak out.
Yeah, man, that's crazy over there. Other countries, go to an airport in a foreign country and see how many machine guns are in that country. They're all at the airport when you come in. It's crazy. All right. Well, I think we covered just about everything. I think Doug Collins is probably the best pick that Trump has made so far, in my opinion. He has all the qualifications as far as business, the government, how government runs, how the funding goes. He's been on subcommittees for financial and accountabilities and stuff like that. I think he's going to do a good job. It's better than taking, a general who, because he retired from the military, and they stick him in, give him a job as a VA secretary. Every one of those tanked out. They all tanked out. Okay. But I think he did a good pick. I don't think a lot of Trump's picks are going to make it through committee. There'll be a few that's not going to make it through there. I'm not going to say who, but there's going to be some that's not going to make it. But I just think that this is a good pick. And we wanted to bring this up because it affects, how many checks they say? 6.9 million veterans that it actually affects. And then the veterans who aren't in the VA healthcare system, there's probably a ton of them that still haven't got the word yet.
Right.
So, you didn't even get into Hexa.
I'm not going to get into Hexa. So that's for another day. Yeah, that's for another day. Anyway, guys, we'll see what happens.
Have us on an all-nighter. She's like, no, we're running. We're going till midnight.
Yeah. But guys, I want to thank you guys for coming in. And I know there's a couple of you guys in here. I think this guy right here, he's a liberal. I can tell right now. Every comment he's made is pretty middle of the road liberal, but he's just going to fight the power, and that's fine. We welcome you in, and you have your opinion. So
no, we want both sides, guys. I mean, obviously,
just because I'm a middle of the road Republican, doesn't mean I won't listen and I won't read your comments and stuff like that. But I can just tell when people comment which way people pretty much lean. So, and if you
But
have
as a
to,
reminder,
and if you have to fight with people to get your point across, you've already lost.
yeah,
So, and yes, Trump did make a lot of promises that he said that he didn't keep, and I'll admit to that 100%. And he probably made some promises now that he can't make and keep in 4 years. It's too much in 4 years, probably. I agree. But my life sucked this last 4 years, and you can't deny that. All you had to do was go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, pay for your electric, pay for your mortgage. I mean, it just everything went up. Your health care, everything went up. And hopefully we can at least slow that train down. Okay. That's all I really care about. Slow that train down.
get a grip on things a little bit. Like there's,
Yeah.
we don't want full control, obviously. Like, right? You go back to the kingdom and say, hey, we're just gonna fall under the king or queen and run those rights that we don't have under them. But there needs to be checks and balances.
Sure.
That's what this system was based on. And all that's happening now is those checks and balances, and it's making people uncomfortable, and it should. That's the point behind checks and balances. Make you uncomfortable. If you're doing it and you're comfortable about it, knowing that it's wrong, then you've got away with way too much that you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely right.
But we want, going back on what Mike was saying before we close out tonight, is we want everybody's opinion. I don't care. You're left, right, middle, up, down. Pick your direction. Pick your denomination. Pick whatever you want to go, right? We want that opinion because at the end of the day, it's America. We, as brothers, fought for your right and ability to have your opinion, and we want to know it. It's not just a Mike and Jason show of you guys agree with what we say or don't, but if you don't, you're wrong. No, we want to see them. We want to read them. We want it involved. That's what it's here. At the end of the day, making progress.
Yeah.
Really what we want is some progress towards everybody just be a good damn human. Just be a good person. Like that's the simple. Be a good freaking person.
Exactly. So anyway, guys, hey, thanks for coming in. Hey, we enjoyed this. Next week we will not have a show because Monday I go in for a full hip replacement on my left side, and I'll have both of them done. And I don't think I'm going to. I'll get out of the hospital at 3:00. Yeah, 3:00 on the 26th, which is Tuesday. And I don't really think I'm going to feel like, or I'll probably be doped up like a junkie trying to heal off the pain. So anyway, guys, so we won't have a show that week. Plus, we have Thanksgiving. And right now, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you get to be with your friends and families. And you get to watch a lot of football while you rub your stomach and take your little nap after all the tryptophan hits your brain. So anyway, guys, we love you. Remember, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need. And always, always think of that. Guys, we love you. God bless you. And brother, anything from you?
You said it all, brother. Perfect.
All right. Guys, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And remember, are you guys going live Thursday?
We're not. You're not
going live?
No, we normally do, but throwing thoughts and prayers out there, guys. Tara's dad is having his surgery to have a tumor removed on Thursday, and we're just not going to be in the mind space on that day to be able to do a live on the main channel. So send all the thoughts, prayers, love. We appreciate it. It's working. I will throw this out there. Dad is looking amazing right now. We
Good.
just got into town today. This man looks amazing. He's not a man that you would think should already be dead and
Yeah.
has a huge brain tumor. God is working in his miracles, and we appreciate that every single day. But because of us needing to spend time with the family, support dad, support the rest of the family, we on White Rock Homestead, we're not going live on Thursday.
Yep. And Terry and I are going live tomorrow night at MT Homestead. So if you guys haven't checked us out, MT Homestead will be live at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time right here on this channel.
And that's where you get your Sergeant Talk TV merch.
That's right. You can go to MT Homestead if you want some Sergeant Talk TV merch. Go on MT Homestead, go to our About, hit our merch store link, and you will see MT Homestead stuff and Sergeant's Talk TV t-shirts. And I think we did a mug, didn't we? I think we did a mug too. So you guys can go on there and get all you want off there. And we appreciate that. Anything you buy that's Sergeant's Talk TV, I think we make like $4 a t-shirt. That money goes to the Veterans Shelter here in McAlester, Oklahoma. So that's where we donate that money to when we get it. We're not monetized, but we were before the show started. We were at 3,700 watch hours. So we got 300 more hours to do, and we'll hit our hours. And I think we need 55 more subscribers to hit our 1K. And then after that, once we go over that, then we'll get monetized, and then we'll be making more money for the homeless shelter. Hopefully. So anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. And
Share it out, guys. Get us
2
out
weeks.
there.
2 weeks. All right, guys. Peace.
Bye now.